Jeb is currently stuck on the moon. The program was testing out a prototype semi-mobile surface module, and Jebby missed a memo that it wasn't mission ready yet. For some reason, he took this thing all the way to the moon. Luckily, it passed the space readiness test, it just had no cargo on board. So now let's do one of those Star Wars style transitions where we pan to another celestial body, and then a quick little screen wipe takes us to the next scene. Here we have a nice simple 3-ish staged vessel with a pair of boosters just to get a bit more Delta V off the launch pad. The first stage is mainly to get us up and mostly circularized around Kerbin. Then, depending on the variation, the second stage gets us to the moon and might help in starting the descent phase. Finally, we've got a 2-stage lander with the ascent vehicle you can see poking out of the top of the fairing there. That's what's going to bring Jeb back. Because the worst part of this unfortunate happenstance that I haven't even told you yet is the admin decided to change the uniform policy, and the suits didn't come in until Jeb got himself stuck in this predicament. So what actually happened was, as I was doing some mission testing for the first episode, I was going to launch that surface module and a rover as the first mission. I launched the rover as an unmanned drone. Everything went smoothly there, just wanted to start out small. Then I went to test the base station Jeb is in, just to scale up a little bit. It landed just fine, but I was about 6 kilometers off target from the rover. So I switched to the rover to drive it to the base station, and in doing so, made a critical error because I made it so that I couldn't revert the Jeb station flight back to the launch and redo the flight to actually record it. And now we get this first video being a semi-rescue mission, instead of just showing that I do have the most basic competency at landing in this game. Which is the reason why I was going to do a video at all. I'd done a KSP stream a few weeks ago trying to land on the moon because I'm really quite noobish at this game, and I wanted to see if I could actually do it on my own outside of doing it along with the tutorial, holding my hand along the way. It just felt like I was riding a bike with training wheels, you know? And spoiler alert, I couldn't land once out of the handful of attempts that I had made. So the original purpose of this was to show that I can indeed land on the moon, but where I overcame one obstacle, I inadvertently created another one for myself. And you'll see in a future video how that tends to be a recurring theme with how my sessions play out in this game. So if you're wondering why I'm just orbiting around the moon right now, all I'm doing is waiting for the landing zone to turn to face the sun because I forgot to put any landing lights on. And trying to land in the dark is really, really spooky. Not because there's space ghosts or anything, the ground just really likes to sneak up on you, even when you got your eyes glued to that altimeter. And trying to figure out how flat a landing spot is when there's no light on the surface is a challenge that I don't feel like I need to take on quite yet. I mean, you can probably see by the number of correction burns that I've been making, just working out trajectories on a moving surface is enough of a challenge as it is. So as the lander is reaching this stage of the descent, one of the solar panels decides to make an appearance, which is a bit risky if the thing literally goes sideways. But for some reason, I guess Bob forgot to charge his phone before leaving, and Bill just insisted that he needed to heat up his egg salad sandwich in the microwave. I don't know. These guys are a bit off. So touching down, there's no real sight on the surface module, but after intense deliberation and a few dank burps, the crew decided that Bill should go out and find it. It took a little effort to find because the rocks and the module look very similar from far off, though it wasn't long before Bill finally found it, hopped on board, and sent Jeb on his way back to the rescue party. As they launch off and head back to Kerbin, if you're wondering why the bottom half is being left behind, there were 2 other Kerbins in there, along with the supplies that should have been on the launch that Jeb took, who they're gonna hop that thing over to the surface module that Bob and Bill are now in. Thankfully, the return to Kerbin phase went smoothly. Low-key, this is the part of the mission I was the most nervous about, because as few times as I've landed on the moon, I've actually flown back to Kerbin even fewer. Mainly, I was just aiming to be able to get an approach that would tuck the ship under that 70-kilometer periapsis, so the atmosphere would catch onto the capsule, and all I had to do was just coast it back home. I ended up being a bit slow on cutting the engines on the retrograde burn and had a slightly steeper descent angle than I planned. But re-entry angles don't really matter in this, so long as you just get it under that minimum orbital height where the atmosphere catches you. So, in concluding this video, stay tuned for episode 2. I don't know exactly how many of these I'll make, but there are a few missions planned out for moon excursions, base expansions, and whatnot. If you liked this video, do the typical thing that people ask for when they shill for interactions, and I hope to see you in the next one. Whatever that's supposed to mean.